Hello, 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 hello. Can everybody hear me? Welcome back. Oh, let me change the little chat thing so that everybody can. Everybody. Let me know. Let me know how you're doing. Nice to see you all. How was yesterday? Did you watch yesterday? How was it? Any takeaways, ahas, all of that kind of stuff? What was your biggest takeaways? Today, we're going to learn about how to get a sobriety habit. We're going to do lots today. We're going to dive right in just like 1 minute. And I'm going to I'm going to announce the winner of the homework question. Every day, we're going to have a homework question. And if you reply, we randomly pick a winner. And you get some stuff, some free stuff. And yesterday's winner is Helen McCormack. So Helen, I don't know if you're here. I'll post it in the Facebook group. Helen McCormack, you are going to get some Soberful swag sent to you. And I'll put that in the Facebook group. So well done, Helen. What are we going to do today? Okay, this meeting is being recorded. Okay. What are we going to do today? We are going to talk about how to build a sobriety habit, how to change from an alcohol habit to a sobriety habit. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to get a sober mindset. Mindset is all about the subconscious and the conscious mind and how those work. Don't miss tomorrow. I just want to say, don't miss tomorrow. It's really, really good. It's one of my favorite. It's really life-changing, this stuff. When you have this information, you're like, oh, that's why, right? So when you've got all of this extra information, you're not working against yourself anymore, right? Is everyone getting the idea that you can't just like decide you're going to stop drinking and then it's easy, it's done, right? There's all these kind of factors working against you that you don't know about, right? Like your brain, your body, your thinking, your programming, other people. And if you have the right tools and all that kind of stuff, then you're in a much better position to be successful. Otherwise, we just stay in this place where we just keep failing, and every time we fail, it just adds to our like how bad we feel about ourselves, doesn't it? Like every time we don't manage to stay sober, it just adds to that feeling of just like, oh God, you know, I'm a loser, I can't, whatever, right? All of that kind of horrible stuff. So we want to put ourselves in a position to be as successful as possible. At the end of today, I am going to tell you, we're going to open enrollment to an 8-week program, a little mini program that I have. Would love for you to join that. If you're able to, I will explain that. I don't do high ticket coaching anymore. I'm only doing little mini things now. And this is a great little 8-week getting started, all that kind of program. And I'll tell you about that at the end. So make sure you stay at the end to hear about that if you are interested in working a bit more closely and being in a little group with me. Okay, so winner from yesterday was Helen McCormack. Not sure if you're here, Helen, but well done. Gosh, lots and lots of great comments here. Yesterday was so powerful. Biggest takeaway was the story we tell ourselves why we have to drink. That comes up a lot in my work. The story that you tell yourself about yourself. Like, in case you haven't got the measure of me yet, I don't do tips and tricks to stay away from a drink. I go really deep to root causes. Like, when I say that stopping drinking is 10% not drinking alcohol, 90% emotional sobriety is where all of the juicy riches are, right? I just want you guys to know that. Like, don't miss out on what's on offer here, because it's about the growth that you're capable of when you get your bandwidth back. And I told you the story about my lovely client who I just love and adore, who got sober with me when she's 76 and she's now 78, and she's walking like 2 or 3 miles and having her best life, and so inspiring. So it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, what your life is like. It it will get better if you stop drinking, not just because you stop drinking, but because you get your bandwidth back. Is everyone clear on the bandwidth stuff? I'm just gonna look at a few more comments. Yes, trying and failing repeatedly is demoralizing. It's absolutely demoralizing. What would a woman who loved herself do next? Yes, that's a great little tool to use. And I'll got a few more little tools that you can have. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again because I've got just a few little slides kind of that help illustrate my point. Okay, can everyone see that? Somebody say yes in the comments so I know. You can see that. And can you see me as well? You can see me at the top. Because I don't want to do death by PowerPoint, you know, when you're just like, ugh. I try and make this as interesting and interactive as possible. Is it interesting and interactive? I hope nobody's bored. Lots of you came back, so that's good. Okay, so day 2, don't make this harder than it needs to be. This is about you having the right tools, the right mindset, the right habits, so that we're not wasting time and energy on stuff that doesn't work, right? If we can just we've done a lot of stuff that hasn't worked. We want to do some stuff that works. So I'm going to explain that to you. Okay, okay. So I love talking about the sobriety habit. Who's read the book Atomic Habits? By James Clear. Really good book. I love it because he supports everything that I have said for 20 years about how to get sober. So there's some really key points that I want you to know. And this is the attitude I want you to take away. You only have to do 1%. Now, if you're like me, I'm a sort of all or nothing person. 1% does not sound worth bothering about, right? What difference is 1% going to make? However, and this is what James Clear points out, if we do a 1% change and we do the right things, not just random stuff, that's important. If we do the right things, over a year, 1% looks like that. So over a year, 1% really adds up and is significant. In the day, 1% doesn't really feel like much. He's very, very clear, and I'm very, very clear. Consistency. It's not what you do, it's how often you do it. So it's the same in reverse. If you stop doing something that's good for you by 1% over a year, that's quite significant. So apply this to exercise, right? I'm pretty good at exercising. I exercise most days, but you know, like everyone, sometimes you're like, oh, I can't be bothered. What would 1% with exercise look like? Okay, 1% is like maybe three rounds of, you know, 4 or 5 rounds of some weights, like just doing arm weights. That's it. Takes 15 minutes. Now, if you just do that in one day, it's not really going to make any difference, is it? But if you do that most days for over a year, at the end of the year, those sort of 4 or 5 repetitions of the weights, you will be able to notice a change, right? You're not going to have a massive overhaul in your whole body fitness, but you would perhaps notice some change in your arms, right? Because that 1% really, really adds up. Now, what happens is when I use this 1% rule, like, oh, we don't feel like it, but I'll just do 1%. I'm just going to do like 4 or 5 repetitions of some weights. What happens is inevitably I get into it and I start doing more. And then I like how it feels. And I think, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. That 1% trick is a really good way to keep going. Getting started you can do that. Everyone does that. We can start, but it's keeping going. So I want you to have that in your mind, that you are only need to focus on 1% of what you can do every day. It's the compound interest of self-development. 1% a day, focusing on 1% a day for your sobriety is about 15 minutes. Can everybody give me 15 minutes? Because if you can't, I can't help you. And we've established yesterday that we already spent a considerable amount of our bandwidth on alcohol. So I know you've got the time, money, and energy. I know you have, because you've been spending it and wasting it on alcohol. So 15 minutes a day to do specific things that maintain your mental and emotional health. If you want to know what the secret is to being sober, if you're like, Veronica, just what is the thing that I need to know? It's this: specific things that maintain your mental and emotional health. That is the secret to staying sober, because we drink because of how we feel. What motivates us to have a drink is because of how we think it's going to make us feel. Like we want to drink because we want the excitement and the fun, or we drink to change the way we feel. We're bored, we're fed up, we're stressed, we're overwhelmed. Can everybody see that? So 15 minutes a day to do specific, and over time, we build on that 15 minutes. We just have the mindset initially that we start with 1% and it becomes compound interest. Excuse me. I'm getting a cold. Hopefully my voice holds up for the rest of the week. Okay, so that is the secret to getting sober. So it's not like 15 minutes a day, just random stuff isn't going to make a difference. It's specific things to maintain your mental and emotional health, because we have outsourced, remember from yesterday, we've outsourced the management of our emotions to alcohol. I didn't know how to cope with my feelings and emotions, so I outsourced them to alcohol. So when you stop drinking, the number one thing you have to do is learn how to manage your mental and emotional health. Is that clear to everybody? So the secret to getting sober is having a practice to maintain your mental and emotional health for the rest of your life, because alcohol can't be the method, guys. It just can't be the method. It just doesn't work. Who here just knows, like, can you just put in the chat, just recently, how have you used alcohol to change how you feel? Did you use it because you believed you'd have a bit more fun, the fun would be better? Or did you use alcohol because you just had a really stressful, difficult day or whatever? Who can everybody see that pattern? Numb, relax, more fun, more confidence. Yeah, mostly to numb. That's a lot. Yeah. Numb. We don't want to numb ourselves. Here's the thing about that. We have human beings, we have this full spectrum of emotions and feelings that we can access, right? We have all the nice ones like joy and fun and excitement and pleasure and all of that kind of stuff. But we also have the ones that are more challenging, like disappointment and fear and frustration and resentment and anger. The problem is you can't selectively numb. If you numb the bad, you numb the good. And we're not fully functioning as human beings. I think the problem for so many people is that we just haven't learned how to manage our emotional lives. So we look for outside fixes. So we look for things outside of us to fix us. Alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, vaping, attention from the opposite sex or same sex, depending, scrolling, buying things, etc., food, sugar. These are all things outside of us that we use to manage what's inside of us. Can everybody see the connection? Can everyone see what's happening? So I just want to address this. Sally's saying, and I believing I enjoy it. I think sometimes we do enjoy drinking, right? But the thing is the cost worth it? So it might be that, I mean, I definitely had nights out that I enjoyed drinking, but I want to tell you the cost when I look back was not worth it, And also, alcohol was not needed to be able to have fun or connect with people or whatever of those things. So the cost, even when we think it's fun or we believe we're still having fun or occasionally it's fun, you've got to look, you've got to put the cost in that scenario as well. Yeah, it's a small enjoyment than very, very large pain. And that's kind of like the crossroads, isn't it? It's like I can't keep paying this price. And that's the bit that I was talking about yesterday about perception is I'll tell you a story. So where I live in deep south in Alabama, and I live in this like community that has a community pool. It's really nice. It's really nice. When the weather gets nice, it's great. There's kids out there, there's people I know. And I'm out there a lot because I just like being by the pool. And I noticed that most of my neighbors are drinking White Claws. And at the end of like a Saturday, the trash can is just like full of White Claws or similar, right? And I just look at that and think, I'm so pleased I know that I don't need alcohol to be able to sit by the pool and chat and have fun. Like I don't need that. Like I don't need that extra cost. Like I can chat and sit by the pool and play with my kids. Alcohol's not necessary to that scenario. That's the mindset shift. Just going to look at some of your comments quickly. What are you not clear about, Bobby? I'm not sure. Bobby's saying I don't see the connection with all those you mentioned. Oh, the outside. So observe yourself with curiosity, not judgment. How do you use external things to manage your feelings? Like scrolling on the phone, it's a way of numbing out, right? Buying stuff on Amazon that you don't need, you get a dopamine hit, and a dopamine hit when the parcel arrives, and then you look at your credit card statement and you're like, oh my God. And I didn't like, oh, so much crap and devices we don't need, right? Attention, like romantic attention, gives you a buzz. We are looking for things outside of us to generate feelings that we're not able to do, or to manage our feelings because we don't know how to manage them. Is that clearer? Okay, so the reason that we need to practice is so that we can become emotionally sober. The only way to stop drinking forever is to be emotionally sober. And there's different components to emotional sobriety. So the destination, let me tell you where we're going. We're going to the land of emotional sobriety. I live there. I live here. Now, I could get kicked out of here if I didn't kind of do the stuff I need to do, but I've lived here for quite some time. I would love for you to come and join me here. It's a really nice place to live. I don't ever want to leave. Emotional sobriety land is a really, really nice place to live. And the journey to emotional sobriety, we get there by doing certain things consistently. There's that word, really important. We need to have balance in our lives. We need to balance our needs. We need to respond, not react to our emotions. So we want to have emotional mastery. So whatever I feel, I'm a human having human experiences. Sometimes I'm going to feel, something's going to happen and it's going to make me sad, or something's going to happen, it's going to make me angry. I want to be able to manage and move through those feelings so I can get back to this kind of balanced place that I live in most of the time. I think in my experience of like 24 years, this is the big one, is being able to deal with resentments, process and deal with resentments. And that's something I usually teach in my coaching programs. Resentments are when they rent space in our heads. It's when we go over and over and over something someone did, we feel there's an injustice or it's not fair, and it's just really hard to let go of. Holding on to resentments is like drinking poison and wanting the other person to die. So that is the work of emotional sobriety. We've got to work on our belief system, change our limiting beliefs. I'm going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow. And we have to live in gratitude. We have to change our mindset So we live in gratitude, which is abundance, not lack, and it's not fair. And all of that is about changing your insides, not your outsides changing. That's a really big thing about sobriety and emotional sobriety in particular. It's not about the world changing. The world is still going to be the world. Your mother's still your mother, your neighbor's still your neighbor, your partner's still your partner. It's that we feel differently about everything. Who would like that? That's the work of emotional sobriety. Consistency, having the tools, having the information, all of that kind of stuff is so important. Because here's why, when you are emotionally sober, your brain's not searching for a fix. Because a lot of you put there numb. Your brain is programmed to find the easiest way to numb. And right now it's alcohol, which is why if all you do is manage to stop drinking, your brain will just look for something else, an outside thing to numb itself. Marijuana, gambling, unhealthy codependent relationships, etc., etc. That's what will happen. So when we are comfortable in our own skin, when we like ourselves again, when we live in the land of emotional sobriety, my brain is not looking for ways to numb myself or fix my feelings. That just goes. Does that make sense? So I want to say that emotional sobriety, it's just like physical exercise, right? Who here exercises? Who's good at that? And what do you do? That's a good question, Bridget. I'll answer that in a minute. Now, the reason that we do physical exercise is we know we have to, right? It's good for our health and well-being. We enjoy the feeling of it afterwards. It feels really good, right? And we know if we don't do it, our health will not be as good. It can deteriorate, or it can certainly go not be as good. So back when 20 years ago, I was a runner and I could run 10K or more. I can't run to the end of the street now, various reasons. So I do other stuff. I have my Peloton here. The point is we have to keep exercising. It doesn't matter what you did last year. It doesn't matter what you did 10 years ago. It doesn't matter that you used to do an Ironman. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. If you're not doing something today regularly, just because you were fit 10 years ago, that doesn't mean anything today. It's the same with mental and emotional health. This is not that you come to me, I fix you, and off you go. It's that you come to me, I'm going to show you what you need to do, and you keep doing it. That's the difference. You take responsibility for the experience you want to have. What you don't have is the how. Like, well, exactly what do I do, Veronica? I'm going to teach you all of that. It's the how. Once you know how to exercise, again, depending on your age and ability and all that kind of stuff, it might be, oh, that's so much better for me doing that, right? It's knowing what to do. We have to have exercises for our mental and emotional health. It's exactly the same. Is everyone getting the similarity there? Bridget has said, what do you feel when you have uncomfortable feelings? What do you feel when you have uncomfortable feelings? Okay, I think you're asking, what do you feel when you have uncomfortable feelings just feel really uncomfortable, right? You just want to get rid of them as quickly as possible. Uncomfortable feelings is something we want to change as quickly as possible. And that's why your brain goes for the quickest thing possible. And your brain has been programmed to, oh, alcohol works. Alcohol works. Food works as well. Who knows they use food to numb their feelings? Just looking at some of your comments. Yeah. If you're noticing the food thing come up, that's about emotional sobriety. It's because you're not doing your drug of choice, which is alcohol. So your brain's going, well, what else can I use to fix how I feel? So this is why most people fail. They've been using intensity over consistency. And this is why we start with the 1% rule, the 15 minutes, that we're just going to do a little bit. Because 15 minutes, 1%, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels very, very doable, right? If I say like, oh, you have to learn how to run a marathon, that feels like a lot, right? But if I said, look, you just need to be able to run around your block, mentally, I'm like, okay, I think I could do that. Yeah, that feels achievable, right? And that then we have a much higher chance of being successful. So intensity over consistency, what that looks like is, and it's January, it's dry January, you've downloaded all the podcasts, you bought all the books, you're coming to this, like, and then you just burn out. You just burn out because eventually what's going to happen is you are going to have some difficult feelings that overwhelm you and you don't know how to deal with them, and your brain starts looking for a fix. And that's why willpower doesn't work. Willpower is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant to the outcome. Willpower is not going to help you because willpower is a muscle that gets fatigued. The consistency over intensity and the 15 minutes a day and the 1%, that just feels so much better, and you're not going to burn out. Does that make sense to everybody? So the magic pill is consistency. It's not the amount of time you spend on something, it's the number of times you do it. So it's not about spending like 5 hours a day for the next 3 weeks, like, reading all the books, listening to all the things to get, sober as quickly as possible. It's not about that. It's because you'll burn out. It's about knowing what you need to do every single day, 15 minutes, 1%. So it's not the amount of time, it's the number of times you do it. Consistency. If you work with me, you're going to hear me say this a million times. Because we've got to change our brains. Our brains are very, very used to instant reward. And alcohol is instant reward with delayed consequences, right? Alcohol, I wouldn't even say, I mean, it takes about an hour for alcohol to hit your bloodstream, maybe less. But I want to tell you, for me, and remember we talked yesterday about how you self-sabotage and how the ego keeps saying, oh, you can just have one, or you're fine, what are you worrying about? And eventually it wears you down because it feels so uncomfortable, and then you make the decision to drink. I think personally that it's making the decision is when the relief comes. Even before you have a drink, it's the decision that you're going to drink feels like is the best part of the whole process. I used to love the anticipation of drinking. Like, that was the best part of the whole event for me. Does that make sense to you? So our alcohol is just instant reward, consequences delayed. And so we get used to it. And we know, especially with smartphones, that our whole culture is set up for dopamine hits. We even just 70 years ago, even when our parents were younger, we didn't have a culture that was so set up for dopamine hits. They did that deliberately with the iPhone and the apps. They just kept making you have a dopamine hit. When you see all the likes on your post or whatever, that's a dopamine hit. So we're very, very used to that. We want instant. We want it now. We don't want to wait till next week. Our brains have been set up like that, and we're going to have to work on changing them, because sobriety is delayed rewards, right? I mean, you're going to feel better, but the rewards are not like as instant as alcohol. And I want you to please stay with this. Don't quit before the good stuff happens. I want to just talk about that, about sabotage and when people quit. I want to talk about the critical threshold. Who here, can you just put in the chat, how many like attempts have you had at getting sober? Like, how many times do you think you've said, right, I'm going to stop drinking? How many attempts has everyone had? Thousands, can't even count. 3, too many. A lot. And how long do they last? How long, you know, what's the longest you've gone? Oh, moderation management is, don't get me started. Yeah. So we have to give it at least a year, because of how we have to get our brains and bodies to heal. And I'm going to say, if you've been sober at least a year and not had all of the, like, it's not got better, the reason for that is probably because you haven't done the work of emotional sobriety. Yeah, Sally, 1 year sounds so scary. Just because that's because of your belief system. If you believe alcohol is the best way to have fun, excitement, belonging, connection, to relax and reward yourself, quitting the one thing that you think or you believe brings you those things is going to feel really scary. It's going to feel devastating, but it's a belief, it's a perception, it's not a fact or a truth. And you have to allow some time for that to be clear. Does that make sense, Sally? Okay, critical threshold. This is the critical threshold, right? So imagine that I have a block of ice and I'm in a room that's set to 27 degrees. If I do Fahrenheit, if you are someone in centigrade, I don't know, it's 0, isn't it? So imagine my room, I've got a block of ice and the room is at 27 or -5, right? And I want my block of ice to start melting. So I get up and I turn the thermostat up by 1 degree to 28. Nothing's happening. Nothing's changing. It's still a block of ice. Turn it up again to 29. Nothing's happening. Nothing's changing. Still a block of ice. Turn it up again, 30. Nothing's changing. Nothing's happening, etc., etc. Turn it to 32. Then I turn it to 33. And little bits of moisture start appearing. Turn it to 34. A few little bits of moisture. And over time, that block of ice will melt because I've turned the temperature up above freezing. So that's just science. That's the critical threshold. What some of you are doing is you're stopping drinking. You're not doing you don't have a sobriety habit. You're not moving towards the land of emotional sobriety. You're expecting things to get better. Nothing changes. Doesn't seem like nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Not may as well drink. You quit before the critical threshold. And this will come for all of you. I promise. I promise. If you keep going, you will hit a bit, and it could be. Let me explain this first. If you keep going, you will hit the critical threshold where it means everything changes for you and you see everything differently. And sobriety just begins to feel in the flow. Alcohol just doesn't look attractive anymore. And that just begins to feel easier and easier. That's the critical threshold. So if you keep going, you're going to hit it. You're going to hit it now. That critical threshold is different for everybody. I've had people, I do this every January, a 5-day event. I've had people, in fact, I had someone just recently who's 4 years sober just from doing this. That was the critical threshold for her. All of the information in one of these 5-day events. I've had other people in programs or they've read my book. It's different for everyone. It might be this, it might be my 8-week program that I'm launching. It might be my book. It might be someone else's book. It might be someone else's podcast. That is the thing that just switches something in you, that you just have that aha moment and it sticks and you see it differently and you just keep building days. So you have to keep going. and it's different for everybody. Might be the 6-month mark for you, might be the 90-day mark for you, might be the 15-month mark for you. It's different for everyone. Trust me, if I knew what it is and when it would happen, I'd be a billionaire. It's different for everybody. Does that make sense? About keep it, Jackie? Okay, I'm going to talk about this. It's so hard to reach that point though. No, it's not, Jackie. What's hard is living with an alcohol problem. Sobriety takes effort. We're going to talk about this, about changing our language. Sobriety takes effort. Having an alcohol problem is hard work. Who's been to work on a hangover? Who's just felt like shameful and avoided people because of what they said on a Saturday night when they were drunk? All of those things are hard. This is going to require effort, and it's going to require consistent effort. And you need to look at it like exercise. If you come to me and we do like 3 weeks of exercises, you'll feel better, but not a whole lot's going to change. It's that you keep going afterwards. That's the most important thing. So we've become used to instant rewards, but we will start feeling better, right? 3 days in, body's recovering, not hungover. 15 to 30 days, you're going to notice that you're sleeping better, you've got more energy. 30 days plus, you've got clearer thinking, more bandwidth, all that kind of stuff. So it's not like within 60 minutes, the way it is with having a drink, but 3 days, we can do a month, right? It will build up. It will build up. So we have to keep going till we reach the critical threshold. And these are some of the things that we need to do. Just going to look at some of the comments. We have to, I want to tell you, it's so much easier to keep going if you've got a community. And the research supports this, having community, and especially sober community, because not everybody gets this. They just don't. Not everybody gets why you need to stop drinking. One of the things I say to all my clients look like you. All my clients have, they're typically middle-aged, roughly. They have jobs, they have cars, they go on nice holidays. Everybody on the outside would look at them and say they look fine, because nobody can see what's going on in the inside. An alcohol problem shows up on the inside years before it shows up on the outside. So an alcohol problem, what everybody thinks an alcohol problem is, they think it's a homeless person. They think it's, like you've got your 5th DUI, or you've got fired from another job, or you've fallen over and got a black eye from drinking. That's an alcohol problem, because we can see it, right? We can see it. An alcohol problem shows up on the inside where no one can see it. It shows up in shame, guilt, self-loathing, arguing with yourself, fear, resentments, all of these feelings that you can mask and pretend everything's fine. Yeah, good. Yeah, fine. Yeah, good. We had a good holidays. Yeah, thanks. Right? Who's done that? Who's put on that face when inside they're falling apart, but they're pretending to everyone else they're fine? So an alcohol problem shows up inside when nobody can see it, long before it shows up on the outside. And that's why having a community is really, really helpful. Just having people who get it, because not everybody gets it. Because most people will probably look at you and go, you're fine. Like, you're fine. What's the problem? I like this analogy. Who remembers these old-fashioned TV sets with the knobs? I used to have one in my bedroom. So this is what getting sober is like, right? It's like these old-fashioned TV sets. And if you are too young to remember this, then we used to have to tune them in, right? You used to have to turn the dial, right? And if you keep turning the dial, you get a channel and you get a picture and you can watch your show. And then you want to watch something else, you have to tune it in. And when you're tuning it in, you're going to get this bzzz, right? Everyone remember that? Bzzz. You keep turning it in. Oh, there's a picture. There's my show. I can watch my show. Want to watch something else? Turn the dial. Bzzz. This is the process of early sobriety. No matter what, keep turning the dial. Some days you'll have a picture. And when you have a picture, it just feels better. Some days you're just going to get, if you keep tuning in, you'll get more days with a picture and less days with a, until you reach the critical threshold and you tune in, and all of a sudden it's in full color HD TV and the picture just stays. And you might every so often get a little blip because that's life, but mostly you just have a picture. That's how early sobriety works. So you're going to go through some days where it's, and if you've got community and a program and a mentor and the right information, it makes those days so much easier. Everybody with me? I have lots of analogies and I never know if they quite work. There are so many days without a picture, Major. I'm sorry, I'm probably not saying your name correctly. And some of that, again, in the first year could be to do with dopamine. It could be to do, your sleep hasn't come back, your energy levels. A lot of it is just the brain chemistry. And if after a year you still don't feel like you're getting a picture, that's because you're not emotionally sober. That's your invitation to do the work of emotional sobriety. So this is how we get sober. We put weight on the sober end. So this is a seesaw. This end is drinking. This is sobriety. Consistently build sober habits that put weight on the sober end. And if you consistently do that, eventually your sobriety will embed itself in the earth. So it's the consistent weight. You guys showing up here today, you're putting weight on the sober end. You interacting in the Facebook group. By the way, can you put the Facebook group in there, Carrie? Just for everybody to make sure you joined, and if you want to win the prizes and do the question and all that kind of stuff. If you continue to do that and put weight on the sober end, this is science. Inevitably, the weight of everything you're doing will click into place. I've seen everybody who does it will get there. You just have to get past the critical threshold. So change how, this is things you can do right now. Change how you identify. Do not say, oh, I'm not drinking right now, leaves the back door open. Identify, I'm becoming a person who doesn't drink. So change how you identify. I am becoming a sober person. I am a sober person. Change your language. And I talked about this earlier about the words hard and effort, big ones. Hard, if something's hard, it doesn't feel good. I don't want to do hard things. I'm quite lazy. Effort, I can understand. I understand effort because effort has a payoff. If I put effort into something, there's a payoff, right? If something's hard, it just doesn't feel good. So change your language. Notice the language that you use. Don't say getting sober is hard. Change that to, I need to put effort into getting sober. That's the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, by the way. Invest in the sobriety bank. This bit's really important. Investing in the sobriety bank, huge payoff. I've been sober for over 24 years. Twice in that time that I can remember, maybe there's more than two, but there's two really stick out. I've had some real wobbles, some really not in a very good place at all. I'll elaborate on that story at a different time. Both times I didn't drink. And once I realized I was in a really bad place, it took me a little while. I saw it and was like, oh my God. And I got help and I did what I needed to do. I'd stopped doing my habits. I'd stopped doing my practice. That was a big part of it. That was a major part of it. I started doing my practice and I got some other help as well. The only reason I didn't drink, the first time that happened, I was about 11 years sober, was because I had invested so well in the sobriety bank. Investing in the sobriety bank will pay off. You can't, 30 days isn't, right? It's the same with money, right? Put your money in a high yield savings account for 30 days, you'll make a little bit of money, then take it out. It's not, put it in for a year, 2 years, 3 years, you'll get a much better return on your investment. And then ask yourself the question, what would a sober person do? Like, you remember yesterday we had the question, What would a woman who loved herself do next? Or what would a man who loved himself do next? What would a sober person do? When you feel stuck or like here, what would a sober person do? Start with bite-sized, little doable habits. Habit stacking. Habit stacking is, so what that is for when I get up in the morning, I just put my gym stuff on because then my chance of exercising is much higher. If I get up in the morning and I get dressed in like my jeans or I just put my dressing gown on, my chances of exercising are lower. So it's like I have, I'll show you just over here. Excuse the mess. That's my little setup right over there. I have my books that I read. I have my journal where I do structured journaling. And I come into my office and I sit there and I spend my 15 minutes getting my head right, making sure I'm in the land of emotional sobriety, and then I start work. If I come in and I check my emails, that doesn't happen. That's habit stacking. Meditate for 1 minute, 2 minutes, not 30. That feels overwhelming. Read 1 page of a sobriety or personal development book. Obviously, I highly recommend mine. And if you don't have it, you should definitely get it. Just like everyone can read 1 page. Don't read the whole book, read 1 page. We want to read something that grounds us in what we're doing, right? I don't read sobriety books because I'm sober, but I read personal development books and spiritual books because they just ground me in this internal work. Write a gratitude list, reach out to a sober person, post in the platforms, all of that kind of stuff. Those are little habits. Can you do that stuff? I can answer some questions about AA. I'll do that tomorrow, I think. If you have any questions, I'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. Can you remind me? So the other thing is, this is about changing our thinking. There is no such thing as failure. You can't fail here. There is only feedback. So if you mess up and don't get it quite right, what you're going to have is some data. You're going to have some really good feedback about what worked, what didn't work. If all of you think back to your last relapse, you have some really good information about what you could do differently this time. I'm going to say for a lot of you, loneliness and isolation is one of the biggest reasons that I think people relapse. So there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. So some more secrets to a sobriety habit. It's attraction, not willpower. What do you aspire to? Like this is the pillar of movement. What do I want to move towards? What do I want to move away from? You're going to feel scared. You're going to feel uncomfortable. We're just going to do it anyway. Review the data that you have, what works and what doesn't work. And have a plan. Focus on the system that's going to get there, not the goal. What you've been focusing on a lot of is like the goal is being sober. Like what we want to focus on is what is the system I'm going to use to get me there. So I'm going to just talk quickly about the 8-week program that is going to be enrolling. We have an alcohol habit. We want to change it to a sobriety habit. So for those of you who are interested, the sobriety habit is an 8-week program. We go through 8 habits. So you get every week you're going to get a new lesson, a new habit. There's a video, there's a handout, there's a worksheet, there's stuff to listen to. And then we have a weekly call with me where we talk about implementing those habits. And the weekly call is going to be in meeting format so that we can talk and interact. It's recorded if you miss it. And there'll be an online community. Again, we're going to do that on Facebook because we just find that interaction is the best there. You get to keep all the videos and handouts and all that kind of stuff. Now, there are some special bonuses. We've reduced this program. It was $1,997. It was longer and had more bits to it, but it's $997, or you can do 3 payments, $399. This is the bonus. If you know you want to work with me, do this. The bonus is you get some private Voxer coaching with me. Voxer is a secure app on your phone where you can message me directly and I will answer your questions, coach you, whatever you need. And what happens is I do that once a week. So if you you're like, Veronica, I'm stuck on this. Veronica, this doesn't make sense. Veronica, I have this situation and I just don't know how to navigate it. Every Wednesday, I will go through my messages and I will go, okay, I think you should try this, or I think maybe this is going on. So that's a little bonus for everybody who joins before Friday. There's also a bonus workshop. If you join before Tuesday, we have a bonus live workshop again with me, where I love that workshop. It'll get you really, really clear. And then we start on January the 28th. So this is some of the stuff that we go through each week, some of the habits. And we go kind of in depth to these. I don't know what it is in sterling, Annie. You'll have to do the thing. Carrie will put the link in there if you know you want to get going and do that. Hold on. And that's the homework question. The homework question will be in the Facebook group. Let me just hold on, share my screen. And we have a really nice time in this group. We really, we get like people bond really well. View. I want to do this. How do I? Okay, there it is. Okay. So there's all of the information. This will get sent out to you. We'll put it everywhere. You can click on the things. There's lots of information there. These are important dates. This is the bonuses. So every week, a new habit is unlocked for you to practice. There is a weekly call. I will be teaching in that, but I'll also be taking like, it's interactive, right? I want you guys to ask questions, all that kind of stuff. That's how we form community. And you are going to have homework of making small behavior changes. So that's the homework. Every week is that 1%. So 1% each week. Little things to start working on. Join before Friday to get the Voxer bonus, or Tuesday there's another bonus, and we start on Tuesday the 28th. And we're going to work on these 8 habits. So yeah, that's my current program that I have. Who is going to be back here tomorrow? Don't miss tomorrow. We're going to do the sobriety mindset. Okay, this is the homework question. Ooh, why isn't it? There we go. What would be possible for you if you didn't drink anymore? Carrie, can you put the 8 habits? Can you put the information page back up for everybody? Carrie will put it up for you. It will be in the Facebook group and it will be sent out to you via email. If you know you want to do it. Now, here, I just want to say one thing. Do due diligence on me. If you are new to me, if you haven't been sort of in my world for very long, I have 3 books. I have a podcast that has been going for 7 years. All my qualifications are on my website. Do due diligence on me. Don't spend any money with anybody that you haven't thoroughly checked out. There are lots of people who are very good at marketing and sales, but don't have any background in working with clients or any supervision or training or all of that kind of stuff. So everything that I teach is based on over 20 years experience working in rehab, working in private settings, all of my training, all of that kind of stuff. So just I do due diligence on me. I'm really, really happy for everyone to do that. All these are recorded. So if you can't make it one day, you will get the recording. So don't worry. Don't worry. Yes, they will be, everything will be sent for you via email. And I know some of you are jumping over to the VIP sessions. I'll see you guys there. And I'll see you tomorrow. Homework question will be in the Fresh Start Challenge Facebook group. And it should be popped up by now. You have to put it in that one place, otherwise it doesn't qualify. So it'll be in the Fresh Start Facebook group. And can I put the 8? Okay, do you mean share? Do you mean this? Somebody was asking about the 8 habits. These are the 8 habits that we're going to be working on over 8 weeks. And these are the times. The times of the calls are every Tuesday. They're going to be 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in New York, and that's the morning in Australia and New Zealand. And they're an hour. They're 60 minutes. Little typo there. It's 1 habit a week, Dewey. It's 1 habit, and each habit will have, let me show you, hold on. So each week there'll be a new habit. And so this is the course here. There'll be a video kind of explaining it. There'll be sometimes there's some other things. There's a handout. This one has a written exercise to go with it. 2. So each week has different, there's an exercise to do, and there's a video and handouts and other things that will help you with that. And then we have 1 weekly call to implement. It's that VIP group is a different link. So if you're in VIP, make sure you check your mail, your spam. It might have gone there. And I'm going to hop over there. I'm going to run to the bathroom, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.